Hopefully you're back for another episode of Your Palm Beach Guide. This is Doug Evans, President and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce, the world's best chamber of commerce on the island of Palm Beach, that magical, mystical land that I call home. And love it here, love it, live it. And even when it rains, it's called Liquid Sunshine. This is our podcast, which you'll grab every week on one of your favorite podcast platforms, whatever you want to call it. And I'm so happy to be here. With me today is the Hanley Foundation, who I was introduced to about a year ago. Turner Benoit, who is, your position is?
I'm the Chief Philanthropy Officer.
I love it. So he's the man who goes for the money and makes everything happen on it. I met Turner about a year ago when I started the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce, and he is former president, CEO, whatever the title was, did an amazing, rousing kind of presentation to introduce all of us to 500 people at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was all good. Turner, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having me, Doug.
I love the Hanley Foundation because I know people who have leaned in here locally for your services.
Yes.
And for the great things you do. And I was blown away by the content and some of the things you do, because January is Suicide Prevention Month, which I learned a year ago, and I thought that never occurred to me. So tell me about the Hanley Foundation first, and where it started, how old it is, some of the things you do, and then we're going to get into you a little bit also.
Oh, wow. How exciting.
It's good stuff.
Yes. So Hanley Foundation's been around for 40 years.
Okay.
And we started 40 years ago with a couple named Mary Jane and Jack Hanley. Mary Jane had recently overcome her own alcoholism. Oh. And Jack was a very prominent business CEO, and he retired, and they decided to devote their time and treasure into fighting substance use disorders. And believe it or not, you know, we look at South Florida as like the mecca for treatment today. Oh, back then there really wasn't anything. And so they created the Hanley Foundation and built the Hanley Center in West Palm Beach, and really became the preeminent substance use disorder treatment facility really in the southern United States.
Wow.
And we've carried on that legacy these past 40 years. And you know, what I'm most proud of is the really well-rounded approach that we take to combating addiction, to our mission. And, you can't just treat it away. You can't just prevent it away. You have to take a very holistic approach to, what really is like a defining problem of our time, right? More people are dying every year from this than died in the totality of Vietnam.
From substance abuse in general.
Yeah.
And addiction.
I mean, really the numbers that you see online are mostly around opiate overdoses. If you were to factor in the effects of alcoholism, which, you don't hear about people dying of an alcohol overdose, right? So they don't count that. But a lot of people die of liver disease.
Sure.
But which isn't part of those numbers. So the impact on society is huge. So at the foundation, we educate and we change minds and we save lives. And so the first part of that is our prevention programs. Mm-hmm. So we are the organization of choice for, I think we're somewhere around 35 counties in Florida. So we write federal grants, and we're the organization that works with the school district. We go into the schools, we teach age-appropriate, evidence-based prevention programming to students. Each year, we work with upwards of 100,000 kids.
That's a lot of kids.
It is. And so we have employees all over the state. They go into these schools, and they teach them, this isn't like Just Say No. Just Say No didn't work.
No, it did not.
And this is more, that we take into account that these kids are smart, and it's more about just say no today, right? Which is much more reasonable and palatable for a kid.
Sure.
And what we know, studies show, is that every year that that a young person does not experiment with drugs or alcohol gives their brain another year to develop. The older you are when you introduce those substances, the less likely you are to develop an addiction later in life.
Interesting.
So if you can hold off someone from drinking regularly or smoking pot or whatever at 15 to 16, that is a statistically significant amount of time to let the brain develop. And the likelihood of addiction later in life decreases. So again, it's just trying to push that age of first use back, which is a much easier sell then don't ever do it.
Sure. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Don't Say No.
Oh, me too.
With Nancy Reagan. I remember the whole thing. And at that time, Turner, because you're a pro on the field with your colleagues, there wasn't the platforms for delivery of information. You weren't getting it from everywhere. There was no internet.
Right.
There's just, you watched 3 TV channels basically in a newspaper, right?
And then there's that commercial with the eggs in the frying pan. And
I forgot about that. You're right. This is your egg. You're a brain on crack or something, or drugs or something.
And so that's the first part of what we do. We try to stop it before it starts. Then, obviously people fall through the cracks. It doesn't work. Prevention doesn't work for everyone. And to that, we recently, this is the big announcement. We recently reacquired the Hanley Center, which had been sold to a for-profit company about a decade ago.
Okay.
And we just in the last 30 days closed on that acquisition.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So we have brought it all back under one roof and brought the whole thing back nonprofit. And we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish. And we're even more excited about the things that we're going to unveil very shortly here in the near future.
And is it a residential facility?
All levels of care from detox all the way through outpatient residential. We have specialized programs for mental health, really anything you can think of. In the coming months, you'll hear more news about new programming that we're going to offer. Because we are a nonprofit, we can work closely with the state, the county, and offer services that these for-profit centers that are just profit motivated.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a factory. I will tell you, I know people who have turned to the Hanley Center. They're quite high profile in the region, who've turned to the Hanley Center at some point in time in their lives. And the Hanley Center saved their lives.
Yes.
And got their careers back on track.
Absolutely.
And their families. And they don't stand up publicly to talk about it because the stigmatism that would go with it.
Absolutely.
But I know that they also give money back.
They do.
And that's to me, that's really important because you're a nonprofit, you need money. But the stigmatism that comes with substance abuse and mental health problems, how are you guys addressing that? Because it's like you have a problem, but you won't tell anybody because then you'll lose your job. You're less of a person.
You'd be amazed at the donations we get anonymously.
Really?
Because they want to give, but they don't want, again, the stigma. They don't want to be on the cover of the shiny sheet and say, oh, well, so-and-so just gave to them because they have a problem.
Just so you know, the shiny sheet is the Palm Beach Daily News. It's our local newspaper of record for 100,000 years, and it's the social register kind of shiny sheet. So it's the thing that people turn to. So what Turner was referring to is you don't want to be on the front page for something that might...
but you know what?
But that might, in a good way though, Turner, if it had happened and somebody stood up, they say, this did this for me.
Let me ask you, when does this podcast air?
Probably the next couple of weeks.
Okay, well... We're having a big event next week. Sponsor Donnie Moore and Joni Vandergrift are throwing a kickoff party for us at Joni's house next Thursday. I love
Donnie. She's the mayor of Palm Beach. I love Donnie Moore.
And
She's
Donnie
amazing.
made the lead gift in this campaign.
No kidding.
Yes.
She, this is the mayor of Palm Beach, Donnie Moore, and her family has a legacy of being mayors of town and a huge foundation they run, which to me is staggering what they do. So these campaigns, Turner, what's the total operating budget of the Hanley Center now that you're a nonprofit, and what's it take?
We just closed, so we don't even have the budget, but last year the operating budget for just the foundation was $10 million a year.
Okay, all right.
And so I imagine it's going to increase substantially. From that.
And with fundraising on that, is that when you break that down, how much of that is individuals giving you money? Is there a lot of state money and federal money that comes into this?
So the prevention side of things is mostly all state, federal block grant funding that rolls down to the states. And then from the, we do lots of scholarships. We help probably 500 people a year who couldn't afford treatment get treatment, not only at Hanley, but at treatment centers all over the country.
But when they say they can't afford it, is there a needs test they have to go through?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. So we do a full needs assessment. You really have to gauge their financial need and their willingness, because a lot of times people just want, a quick respite.
Okay.
And get back to it. But yeah, so we provide scholarships, again, all over the country. All of that is 100% fundraised money.
Okay.
And that comes primarily, I am a product of Palm Beach. I grew up on the island.
So third
or fourth generation, I've been there.
You know the town.
I do. And we raise a lot of money in Palm Beach, and a lot of that goes towards those scholarships. And then a lot of it now is going towards this capital campaign to, for the acquisition as well as the new programming that we're going to offer.
Amazing. If you are into this broadcast today, you're listening to Turner Benoit, the Hanley Foundation. I'm Doug Evans. I'm the president and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce in this. I love my town. Anyway, I said it 1,000 times today because I'm just so happy to be here. And Turner just told us that he's a third or fourth generation Palm Beacher, which is rare, by the way.
Let me think which generation. So my great-grandparents owned the house at the bottom of Worth Avenue.
Okay, so that's the big house. It's a nice house, by the way. Yeah. So we're talking 4 generations here, basically. It's a good thing, by the way. Mm-hmm. You blush when we say that. It's a good thing, and you're being videotaped, so you can see that also.
They could all see.
But so Turner, in your journey in life, how long have you worked at the Hanley Foundation?
All told, it's going on 12 years now. And
why did you go to the Hanley Foundation? Other than it's a great organization. And were they a nonprofit then?
Oh, yeah. When I started, they were a nonprofit. And, the foundation has always been around. The center, which was, used to be overseen by the foundation, or was kind of like a sister organization, that part was sold to a for-profit company. There were some, business things that went down. And we just positioned ourselves in the past 10 years to build up the capital and, working capital as well as intellectual capital to come back and take it back.
That's great because with being a nonprofit, it's mission driven.
Yes. And then, personally, I grew up on the island. I've been in recovery for a very long time. And, it's just something I love that mission, right? That's close to my heart, but I also come from, a philanthropic family. Like my mother's still on the board of Peggy Adams.
Oh, I love Peggy Adams. I love Peggy Adams. Peggy Adams Animal Rescue League. It's not right now, but I love Peggy Adams, and they do great work. Yeah,
so she's been a staple of that board for, I think, almost 20 years now. It's funny, like people ask me, they go, how do you do your job? And I tell them, I was the oldest grandchild, and my grandfather was he loved his country clubs.
Oh, well, we know what that's like.
And I was the oldest, so I would have to sit with him every Sunday at the B&T or wherever it was, and he would hold court, and I would have to talk to everyone from the time that I was 6 years old. Stand up, shake hands, like the whole thing. And I think that taught me just how to talk to anyone. And so I kind of fell into this position. I've had many positions in the recovery space, helping people find treatment and things like that. But, this last run has really worked the best. I still help a lot of people. I still get a lot of phone calls.
Of course.
But, going out there and raising money and really to help people who weren't as fortunate as me and many others that could, afford proper care, to help those people get that chance. Because the truth is, if you don't have really good insurance or 30 grand plus sitting in a bank, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And public funding, the public options are out there, so it's funny. Our goal is to help this. You ever heard the term ALICE, the ALICE population?
Yes. Yeah.
But let me see if I get it right. It's asset limited, income constrained, but employed.
Yes.
Did I get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah. So it's the idea that the ultra wealthy can afford anything, right? So they can afford treatment. They can get the best of the best, which we have. We have a program called Headwaters at Hanley that is just for that set. It's a higher price point, much nicer amenities, different therapists. And the thinking there is that, people of wealth have different problems and different clinical needs that we address there.
And different expectations, which would entice them to want to do this.
Yes. They oftentimes won't go to the one that costs less.
Correct.
Yeah. And then, back to the ALICE thing, that the lower rung, right, the indigent, there is public options for those people.
Right.
But it's these ALICE individuals.
In between,
that, are living paycheck to paycheck. They might make $100,000 a year as a family, but they don't have 30 grand sitting in a bank account to burn. Their insurance deductible and out of pocket might be $15,000. So before the insurance pays $1, they're out 15.
And they can't afford it. And then they're trapped in a vicious.
They're trapped. Yeah. And they can't get the Medicaid type services. And so that's the niche that we're going for, is to help those people. and do that through, scholarships, sliding scales, just different things. And then, the philanthropy that I oversee and the higher price treatment of those people, that funding filters down to allow us to do that.
With all the people, Turner, moving to the greater Palm Beach area, the Palm Beaches, that would imply to me that there's going to be exponential need now, because there's more volume of people here, which means there will be people who have challenges and need you and your help, and that you're going into a capital campaign or in one that you've got lead gifts that you're going back to your core mission with your facility is critical.
Thank you.
Is critical. And when I look around and see what's happening to people in their 20s who start using whatever, drinking too much because they're young, they can, and they're invincible, kind of thing. I'm not 20 anymore. I'm 40 years past that. But to know that there's a resource there. But part of your job has got to be, and part of the Hanley Foundation is to detach the stigma from needing help.
Yeah.
People won't go for help if I'll lose my job. Oh, if my spouse finds out. Oh, if my best friends, because they're all drinking and having a great time, but I can't. What are you doing as far as education to communicate that to people? Because I think that's a real important thing. That's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The breaking down that stigma is a big part of what we do. And, say what you will about the younger generations, but mental health and problems like this are not as taboo as they once were.
Good.
It is breaking out.
I'm not happy about it, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, you hear about it a lot more in the news. Yes, there's always going to be that pull yourself up by your bootstraps, pull it together mentality. It's the American way. Right. But when you have some of these celebrities that are coming out and talking about mental health, it is really helping us break that down. As far as the Hanley Foundation's going, we're out there. My CEO, Rachel Doskull, is at Senate right now for that up in Tallahassee for meetings with them, working from the government all the way down to, people like me going around Palm Beach, and everyone knows my story. Yeah. I've been very open about it. And,
and I didn't until I met you.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, that you are so passionate about it because you've been through the process of recovery and you're still in it, that you can speak to potential donors or people who have a challenge from the heart. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been there. Yeah. And I know what it's like to grow up in Palm Beach, and that's a, we were wild and I look at my kids and I'm like, ooh.
Well, it's like total abandon with a lot of people who live in this area with unlimited resources to party and have a good time.
Yes.
Go to great schools, party, have the cars, wreck the car, get the good insurance, whatever, mom and dad dismiss it for a little bit, then you do it again.
I told my daughter, she was asking me what kind of car she's 10. She's asking me what kind of car I'm going to buy her. And I said, probably like a used Volvo, like something
safe, but older.
Safe and older, because you're going to mess it up.
You're going to mess it up. Something's going to happen, whether it's not necessarily substance abuse, something's going to happen. And with the increase of volume of traffic here, something's going to happen. All the way to the studios here at Pop Popular, I'm like, okay, slow down, people. This is kind of crazy. But, you speak from the heart. You're dispelling the stigma attached to it. The celebrities coming out for that, I think, is critically important. You and your team were at the Chamber Breakfast last January, and I did not know. I learned a lot from that, by the way. And I'm not being, people who know me genuinely, and I hope you and I get to know each other even more. I'm sincere and genuine. I learned last January that January is Suicide Prevention Month in businesses and places like that, because I didn't realize. Tell me a little bit about that, because after the holidays and you get back to work, I mean, what does that mean? And
so that's a big, the suicide prevention is a big initiative within our programs department. So, and this is a service that we offer to companies, institutions, schools, whatever it may be. Not so much for students. This is for, adults.
Faculty. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we have Project Hope and these different programs that we bring in and teach about suicide awareness. There's something called QPR, which, like CPR, right? Everyone knows what CPR is.
Right.
I'm trying to remember what it is. QPR is question, refer, question. Oh gosh, I can't even remember it. But it is basically like the CPR to help identify someone who is at risk of suicide. And so the same way that you can get a CPR card, you get a QPR card. Oh. And they teach this program. It's an evidence-based program, and they can go to law offices anywhere.
Right.
And it teaches the warning signs and what exactly to do when they run into someone who's having a mental health crisis like that. And so that's our big push this month. We help thousands of people every year with that.
You know, my passion for that is because when I learned about it, and I have had friends who've committed suicide, and the people who get hurt the most are all of us who are still here. And the person, it's not passing blame. They had an issue, and they saw that as their only way out. So if you folks have this proactive way to help stop this, you know, at the Chamber of Commerce, anything we can do, and I told you this a year ago, to remind the corporations and the 800 members that there's a free resource there for them. It's free to call you, to call somebody and just do it.
We really want to be the resource for the Chamber for all things mental health, substance use. You know, we have contracts with many different organizations across the state for when their employees are in trouble that, you know, we have contracted rates where they can come to us and we can provide treatment for them, you know, just be the facility of choice for that in Palm Beach.
You know, with the Hanley Foundation, you can find out more at palmbeachchamber.com. They're members, and you can go to the hanleyfoundation.org, probably .org. If you're in trouble right now, I would venture to say if you called them, it's anonymous, and there's no guilt. There's no, why did you do this? It's just call and say, I need help, right?
24 hours a day.
And the good folks, including Turner, who you never know, might answer the phone. Who knows at some point in time?
Probably not me, but
well, you never know.
It might get to me. It might get to me eventually.
You might be there, but you shouldn't be afraid to pick up the phone and call the Hanley Foundation or anybody else. And one of the things that with the listeners today, if you are in trouble, and I don't care where you are, the podcast platform is global. You know, is there an 800 number? Is there some way or is it just a 561 number, or is there easy?
Yeah, there's a 561 841 1000.
You know, so Google it, look it up, and I don't think they charge long distance anymore for your cell phone anyway, so it doesn't cost anything. But call them 24/7 and say, I need help. And if you're in Arkansas or wherever you are, they'll help you find somebody. That's the bottom line, because they're not driving you to West Palm Beach to make money. It's not about that anymore. Why was that? Can you talk? Why was there a shift at some point in time for the building to go for profit? Just an evolution at some point in time?
Let's just say this, that the landscape of treatment changed drastically back in, I'd say 2010 with the ACA, Obamacare.
Affordable Care Act, yes, yeah.
So in the past, insurance didn't pay for treatment all the time,
right? And
it was one of those things where they could preclude you because of pre-existing conditions. So if you used insurance once for treatment, you were kind of, you never use it again. And so but with Obamacare, it said you can't discriminate based on pre-existing conditions.
Correct.
And that treatment is like cancer. And if you have a relapse of cancer, you go back to the doctor and they treat it again, and treatment's the same thing. And when that happened, private equity and big money realized, wow, this is a bonanza. There's a lot of money to be made. And it totally changed the landscape. It used to be dominated by, a handful of large nonprofits. And those nonprofits there's 3 left. And a lot of them had mergers at Hazelden, which was a huge one.
The name, yeah.
Betty Ford.
Yeah.
Now they're Betty Ford, Hazel and Betty Ford.
Really?
Oh yeah. Cause they couldn't do it on their own any longer.
I had no idea.
And so actually when we were going out to buy Hanley Center back, they had all sorts of offers from private equity firms. And we were able to, appeal to the previous owner's philanthropic side. Good. And we made a deal and we made it happen.
And they did the right thing.
They did. They came, there's a philanthropic family and they liked the idea of it going back. And rather than some company come in and slash and burn to create a higher multiple at the next sale 5 years down the road, they knew that we are in this for the long haul and that we expect Hanley Foundation to be around for a long time, long after I'm gone.
Yeah, long after all of us are gone, hopefully forever, because we need this in our community. One kind of a final question here for you. The need continues to grow. It
does.
And I would assume the Hanley Foundation has a planned giving program. There's a variety of ways to give. And no gift I've done fundraising like you my entire life. No gift is too small.
No. And you can just go to our website, hanleyfoundation.org, donate right there. We have different events. A good way for people to get involved with us is through our events. So again, I don't know when this airs, but the 15th of February, we have our Palm Beach dinner which is, 300 plus people at the Sailfish Club.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. And tickets are available for that on our website, Hanley Foundation.
And even if this airs past that, it's going to happen next year again.
Oh, yeah. So. And then we have our golf tournament coming up the 15th of April.
Do you golf?
Every year at the golf tournament. Now I'm one of those guys that, I guess
blushing again. This is funny.
Growing up in Palm Beach, like
you expected you to golf and play tennis.
Right. So I was just going to say, like, I can pick up a tennis racket and play, and I can pick up a golf club and limp along. I'm better at tennis than I am at golf.
Not that you're great at it, but if you got it,
but I won't make too much of just a little bit of a fool of myself.
Turner, the whole, when people listen to this, Palm Beach has such a brand, and all you think about are very, very wealthy people with mansions, and the Worth Avenue lined and Royal Ponciano Plaza lined with celebrities and stars. It's actually just a real town.
It is.
It's a real town, and the atmosphere of the 50s and 60s, the club set, isn't as prevalent as it used to be. It's a much more democratized place. People of every income level live in Palm Beach on the island, and also it's as I say, and I hope you resonate to this. I think you will, even though you're a normal Palm Beacher, it's now become a regional kind of atmosphere. It's no longer just the island versus the continent. That all these people work together, hopefully harmoniously. But there are a lot of rich people in Palm Beach and West Palm Beach. By the way, the houses there aren't exactly cheap.
No, they're not.
Or Boca, or North Palm Beach, or Jupiter. I just go up and down the coast in these multi-million-dollar houses. But it's a real town with real people who need help. And I am so happy the Hanley Foundation is here to step up to the plate, and that you're doing what you're going to do. I think that we need to bolster our commitment to mental health in the regions, no matter where you live. And most certainly the Chamber I'm a big fan of the Hanley Foundation ever since I met you guys last year. And I think we, in this Chamber of Commerce, and as you're listening today, if you own a business, call the Hanley Foundation. The suicide prevention thing blows me away about the way people get so down in January who might do something that you can stop, and in a non-confrontational way to help them and to make them feel better.
Absolutely.
So Turner Benoit, thank you. You're the Chief Philanthropy Officer of the Hanley Foundation, hanleyfoundation.org. They're looking for money like a lot of people are, but I will tell you, I know a lot of people that the Hanley Foundation has saved their lives, and they won't tell you who they are. I happen to know just through casual conversations, and you're a life-saving organization. And I'm sorry that you went through what you have in your life to be in recovery. But I am, what's the right word? I'm emboldened. I'm honored. I'm pleased. I'm enlightened and happy that you are in your job as a person who walks the walk and talks the talk.
Thank you.
So you've been listening to Your Palm Beach Guide. I'm Doug Evans, President and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce, here with Turner Benoit with the Hanley Foundation. And check us out every week, wherever your favorite podcast platform is. You pick it, we're there, kind of a thing. We're live and semi-live and living most of the days and tape from the Pop Populi Studios in North Palm Beach. Check out Pop Populi. Start your own podcast. It's a lot of fun. Make it a great day.
Thank you.